Welcome to the Blue Collar Gold Podcast, the podcast that shows you how to build a world-class service business from the dirt up. And now, your host, Mark Stoner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blue Collar Gold Podcast. Great to be here again. This week, I think I always start off with something about the week, but it's just, I feel like I have been burning the candle at both ends and in the middle. I'm sure a lot of you know that feeling. I look at myself on this podcast and I think I look a little bit tired. So forgive me on looking wore out. It's kind of like that these days. I've got a lot of things going on. I'll talk about those and coming up. So this week it's pretty exciting. We're really working hard on our chocolate company, and it's called Poppy and Peep. And we're really trying to be ready to be open on October 28th, which is National Chocolate Day. And there's so much work to do in the middle of all the other work to do, but it's so great to work with my daughter, Evan. She is just a fun, hardworking, outgoing person. You never have to tell her to get up and get going in the morning. I may have to keep her focused on certain things, but she is an absolute joy, and I'm really looking forward to this venture that we have gotten into. Just a quick update, I bought a chocolate, kind of like a chocolate franchise years ago, and I wasn't looking to get in the chocolate business, but I happened to be I was selling my chimney franchise at a show in New York City. And nobody was coming to my booth to buy our franchise, but there was a chocolate booth that was selling fudge and truffles, and he was busy, so I didn't have much to do, and so I walked down there and was talking to him, and the candy, the fudge and everything was the best I'd ever had. I said, well, how much is it? And he gave me a price, and I said, that sounds fun. I called my daughter from the show. I said, I think we're getting in the chocolate business. And she said, okay, let's do it. So we bought his this is really a business opportunity. There's kind of a difference between a franchise and a business opportunity. A franchise, you pay royalties. It's a lot more of a strict type of a business arrangement. With a business opportunity, basically, it's a lot less strict, and we didn't have to pay royalties, but what we did have to do is buy all the supplies or buy all of the product from him, and that's kind of like what your royalty fee is. So, and you could do a lot more with it. It's a lot more flexible, yet there's not as much support and some of those other things. So I bought it. We went into malls, several malls, trade shows, street fairs, all kinds of different things, wedding shows, and overall, it didn't really work. It was a struggle. We had a lot of fun doing most shows. Some of the outside shows that went bad with the weather, we didn't have fun doing. But it just basically I had a bad supplier. He was not a good business person. We never got all of a whole order ever of what we wanted. It was always delayed. It was messed up. It was damaged. It was melted. And over time, it got worse and worse, and I finally decided to shut down that chocolate business, and it just wasn't working. Malls were kind of dying, and we were a high-end chocolate in some of these malls, and it just wasn't working. So I pulled the plug on it. But I told my daughter, I said, we have two options with this chocolate business. We either are going to go all in, or we're going to either get out or go all in. And she said, let's go all in. And I said, well, all in means we're going to have to learn how to make chocolate. We're going to have to buy all the equipment. We're going to have a building either leased or purchased. And when we say all in, it's all in. And so we did that. We went to the Chocolate Academy, Calbo Chocolate Academy, what's called Chicago Chocolate Academy. We took a lot of courses on all levels of chocolate. We've been to other types of courses and classes, and now we're starting. So it's fun. It's been a long process. It's been a lot more expensive and a lot harder than I thought. We've had the building for about a year getting it ready, and now it's finally ready to happen. The purpose of this podcast, or my topic on this podcast, I want to start off is how in business you have to pivot. You have to be ready to pivot in business when the circumstances change or they're not what you expected. And I'll give you an example. And really, almost every business I have ever been in, I've had to pivot. And the pivot was what made the business different or made it grow or made it survive. It wasn't what I initially got into the business to do. A lot of people that are sitting on the sidelines think, if you haven't jumped in to get going, a lot of times you're asking a lot of questions. You think you know the right questions to ask, and you want to get answers to those questions before you actually get in the business. Well, my point is always you have to just get in. You can't even ask the right questions. You don't even know what's going to happen or what's going to come about before you get in. So I'll give you an example. So chimneys. Well, let me back up. Let's continue on chocolate. In the chocolate business, I thought I was getting in to sell a chocolate somebody else was going to make. And my idea was I was going to have a lot of stores. I was going to end up having a retail store. I was going to have kiosks in malls. I was going to grow that, had a supplier. Pretty easy business in my mind. It wasn't. It was never easy. It was always hard. Had a bad supplier. So the first pivot was, okay, let's get in and build our own, we'll do our own chocolate thing. Well, while we were researching that, I found a second building. I found two buildings, and our idea was to start very small, like a micro factory. So I found this small place that looked like it would work, and it was pretty cheap. And we realized we probably should buy two of them and make one of them an Airbnb with a chocolate theme, and the one next door was going to be the factory. So the Airbnb at least would help pay for itself and possibly have extra money to pay the rent for the chocolate factory. So basically I had a lot less risk getting started. Well, the funny thing was, right off the bat, the chocolate themed Airbnb was a hit. And in fact, we've got even another chocolate themed Airbnb now too. So we have two of those. Right off the bat, that worked. And now and we would have never gotten into Airbnbs if we hadn't gotten into chocolate that failed and then decided to have our own business, making our own stuff, and then it forced us into Airbnbs, which is actually something that is working and working well. Now, hopefully the chocolate business works, but we now realize how well these Airbnb-themed Airbnbs work. So that's just one way that we would have never, we could be mad that we bought this franchise that didn't work, but I'm not mad at all because the pivots that we've made have made us successful in a way that we didn't anticipate. And my daughter is an amazing Airbnb host. We're a super host. People love the theme. And as soon as we get the chocolate factory open, it'll be an Airbnb experience where people can come stay at our Airbnb in Nashville and next door learn how to make chocolate, come to the, and it's a fun idea. Every single thing I've ever gotten into pivoted and changed. And I'll talk about when I franchised, I had some partners and we franchised the chimney industry, the chimney business. We had an idea of let's start off and let's put all of our best ideas together and come up with a franchise. That was extremely difficult, and has yet to really been super successful. We've got 4 franchises, and it takes probably 5 to 10 franchises before you even start to do anything with it. So we're still kind of in the infant stages of franchising, but what came out of franchising was we needed to develop a program that, a learning program, so our franchisees had all the right training. It was all in one place, and so we trained them to do things properly. During that program, I was talking to my partners. I said, I think people aren't necessarily buying the franchise, but they may buy a subscription to this training platform that we had. And we broke out the training module and sold it separately to people for a low monthly fee. And they have access to all of our training and a ton of industry training. And that's actually been a successful part. We teamed up with our national certification, and it's been really successful for them. They've actually been more successful than they ever were doing it on their own. And we launched something that worked, but it was a pivot. It wasn't the franchise that worked, but it was the training module that worked. And so in chimneys, when I first got into the chimney business, I thought that sweeping chimneys was the business, and it was for many years. I swept chimneys. I really didn't fix chimneys. I definitely didn't install any appliances or any restorations. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. And so in that, we finally started learning how to repair chimneys. And now our business is, 85% of our business is restorations and repairs, where only about 10% of our business is chimney sweeping and inspections, but now one leads to the other. The pivot to become a niche construction company was key. And it's actually, if we stayed just sweeping chimneys, we'd probably be a 3 or 4 truck operation, maybe 5 truck operation. But in our case, the restorations and repairs, now we're approaching 30 trucks. In that, we pivoted again inside the chimney company and realized that making the metal pieces that we needed for chimneys was a business opportunity. So we started making a very basic piece, and inside that, we found another thing I've talked about before, these outside mount chimney caps. If you don't know chimneys, you don't really know what that is. But inside that was a whole nother business. Now we're shipping to, we've probably got 10 to 15 chimney companies that we ship to, and we make chimney caps for, and we're getting ready to expand that even more. And that's its whole own business now is metal fabrication. I would have never started a metal fabrication business to begin with. But it came that way through opportunity. I can't tell you how important pivoting is in a business to stay relevant and stay growing. And opportunity is all around you. It's absolutely everywhere inside your business that you are currently in or looking at. I've mentioned this before, just opportunity is like it's like looking at something differently. And let's just say, for instance, the color red. Before I mentioned the color red, you weren't thinking about the color red. Now look around. I'm wearing a red shirt, but look around the room. There's red probably all around you. But you weren't looking at it a minute ago, but now you look at it differently. Inside your business, inside your life is a lot of opportunity inside of what you're already doing. You have to just think of it differently. You have to look at it objectively, and a lot of times the obstacle is what the opportunity is. Whatever the hardest thing that's kicking your butt is maybe the opportunity that you're not seeing. In my business in 2008, I was crashing my business. One of my biggest problems was leaking chimneys. We had so many leaking chimneys that we had to go back on and repair that I was just losing a ton of money. We'd try to fix a chimney, and the people would pay us, and then next thing you know, next time it rained, hey, it's still leaking. And we were going back and going back and going back, and we tried to keep fixing these leaky chimneys, and I was losing my tail doing it. Well, my friend John Meredith, who I've had on the show, I told him this, and he said, well, you're probably doing it wrong. He said, what's your process? I told him my process, and he goes, well, you're not looking at it right. A customer would call us, we would go out and look at the chimney, and we'd find a problem. And I said, well, there's your problem. The top of the chimney's cracked. Let's fix it. We'd fix it, and come to find out, that might have helped, but it wasn't all of it. It was the mortar. It was soaking in through the brick. It was coming in through the roof. It was other things. But I told the customer it was the one thing. I fixed it, And now I'm on the hook to try to get it fixed because the customer said, hey, I paid you to fix it, it's not fixed, and now I'm fixing things for free. John said you need to approach the whole thing, the chimney, as a system. You need to address every single part of the chimney, the cap, the crown, the brickwork, the mortar, all the way down to the flashing and the roof. And then you also need to address that there could be unknown things. So we started to address the chimney, and when we went to estimate the work, we estimated absolutely everything, whether it looked good or bad. And we gave the customer chances to select what they wanted to do, not just follow what the one thing I said. All of a sudden, our repeat, repairs went down to zero. And if we were going back, let's just say we listed 4 things that need to be repaired, and the customer said, well, I want to do 2 of them, no problem, we'll do those 2. But if it's still leaking, we need to do numbers 3 and 4 too. And then we were getting paid for those. Next thing you know, the whole thing was working for us and very profitable. I then had me and John decided to do an event in Orlando in 2010 and tell everybody, hey, this We Fix Leaking Chimneys campaign. I came up with a advertising campaign around it called We Fix Leaking Chimneys. And at the time, the industry wasn't really addressing it because I realized that roofers were doing more chimney work than chimney guys were. Roofers are still do more chimney work than chimney guys do, and they shouldn't. They actually are not qualified and don't know the codes and everything regarding chimneys. And so my point, my advertising campaign said, don't call a roofer to fix your chimney. Call Ashbusters. We fix leaky chimneys. We're the experts. It changed the whole game, and a lot of other chimney companies embraced that message. And it became a whole thing in our industry, which is awesome. It helped our industry become more year-round too, because we used to be a fall and winter oriented business. When We Fix Leaky Chimneys came out as an advertising campaign, a lot of people then could have really busy spring, late winters and springs because it starts to rain a lot. That was a pivot. That was a pivot on a normal marketing plan that helped the industry. My point is, you have to look at things, whatever the problem is can also be the opportunity. Whatever is kicking your butt in business, like leaking chimneys, can also be the solution. In our business right now, we're in gas logs, gas service. Well, that's pretty hard too. It's tricky. There's a million different brands. There's a million different problems. There's electronics and it's fire. So what could possibly go wrong? I mean, electronics and fire are naturally not compatible, but that's what gas logs and gas fireplaces are. There's heat, electronics, moisture, spiders. Believe it or not, spiders are a problem in gas. They build little webs and block things. And it's just a rough environment for electronics and fire and heat to work in. So there's a big problem with it. We are slowly getting a handle on really how to service people correctly and how to make sure that they, we do a good job for them. So in your business, I challenge you to look at what is the biggest problem, and is there a way to pivot your business and make that? Because if you're having a problem with it, there's a great chance that somebody else is having a problem with it. If you're having a problem with it, a lot of people will shy away from it. So there's an opportunity for you to jump into it and possibly do it as a business. I hear this all the time too, where people say, hey, people are buying things on the internet, and I don't want to install their stuff that they buy on the internet. And I know that feeling because a lot of times they just took the profit out of it and it's not worth it. It might be something that's broken and not working. It may be faulty or you don't know how to do it. But if you realize where the industry is going, a lot of people are comfortable buying on the internet. In my opinion, you have to get comfortable installing some of that stuff and making money at it, because the problem that you can't get on the internet is the installation. So let's just say you don't like installing it. Well, why don't you like installing things that people buy on the internet? There's probably a handful of reasons. One, people that do that are probably trying to get the cheapest thing possible, and you don't like that customer. You may have problems with it. I get all that. But the truth is, if that's what more and more people are doing, figure out how to get in the way of it, develop processes and policies that protect you from bad parts. Maybe your policy is we will install it, but if there's an issue with it, we're not responsible for it not working. You have to go back to the internet to get it fixed. You still got to pay us. We did everything we could, but if it doesn't work, that's on you. Here's the bill. Who knows what it is? Maybe there's no warranty with it. You can install it and you don't have a 1-day warranty on something you bought on the internet. But if you buy it from us, then there's a 5-year warranty or whatever. You can play against it. We do it all the time. We will install other things, but we give no warranties. If you don't have all the parts, we still give you a service charge. But if you use us, if you use all of our stuff, most likely you're going to save money and we're going to give you a better warranty. I've heard some people say, hey, if you want something installed, that you bought on the internet, have the UPS man do it or call the guys on the internet to do it. Of course, they can't do it, but you could be missing out on an opportunity. I'll give you an idea of how that affected us one time. We decided to start installing gas equipment and gas appliances. And so a company in Nashville that installed a lot of that found out we were going to do it. So their policy changed and said, hey, if AshBuster is going to fix and install anybody's stuff, what we're going to do is only fix or install we're only going to fix what we ever installed. So if we didn't install your stuff, you can call AshBusters. I can tell you that was a huge mistake on their part because they're limiting their whole scope of work to a very small amount of the public, where they gave us everybody else. Now, is that harder for us? Yeah, we got to learn every type of module. We've got to learn every type of gas log, and we're accepting a lot more stuff. But we have grown drastically, and that company has not. In fact, that company is floundering. You got to be careful when you come up with these rules that you think are going to help you, and they end up just limiting, who you are and what you can do. My idea is to figure out how to say yes, figure out how to say, yeah, we're the company to do it. We want to do it, and adapt to what's coming. Pivot to what the market is asking you to do. There is a gold mine in service work and pivoting and looking to what people are wanting you to do and figure out how to do it and deliver on that service. So, I made a little note here. What story do you tell yourself about your service? And is that the thing that's holding you back in business? So if you're telling yourself a story that we don't do certain things, or we can't do certain things, or certain things are too much of a pain to learn, or I'm in a certain demographic, then people won't pay for this high end. I'm going to challenge that every time. You are telling yourself a story and that you believe. I don't care if it's how you sell stuff. I don't care if it's how you run your business. There's a story in there that you're telling yourself. And I've talked about this before. I have a new technician. We don't sell too many wood stove inserts in our area. We're in Nashville. It's a warm environment. Not too many people want these really efficient, high output, heat producing things in their fireplace, let alone having 2 of them in their house. Well, I have a new technician that came from a colder environment. He used to work in a stove shop. So he believes in inserts. He loves them. He's seen how great they are. Right off the bat, he goes out and starts being a new technician for us. And yesterday I saw him go install 2 inserts. Not 1, 2. These things are $4,000 a piece installed. He sold it $8,000 in a house in Nashville. Why? Because he believes in them. He happened to talk to the people. They're from Montana. They believe in them too. And he cued in on it because he believes in it. I almost promise you none of my other technicians would have thought that same way and believed it and sold 2 of these pretty expensive appliances. I've mentioned before these large chimney caps that we sell. And we only started selling them because we started believing in them, and instantly the whole company believes in them, and it's become a huge revenue source for our company and several other companies that have come to my company. We show them how to do it, and it's been a boom for them. I promise you, wherever you are, there's something you believe in or don't believe in that is keeping you right where you are. Now, man, if you have hit it, if you have arrived, don't change a thing. Keep it going. But most people listening feel like they probably haven't arrived yet. They may want a little more money. They may want a little bigger business. They may want a business that runs more on its own. You're listening to this podcast for some reason. Hopefully it's not the humor, but hopefully you're looking for a nugget. You're looking for that thing that if you listen to it, you're like, oh, that's it. I'm telling you, it's the story you tell yourself as to how you are. Again, if you're comfortable in life, probably not going to change much. The more uncomfortable you are, the more likely you are to change. My problem for me is I'm pretty comfortable. Things are pretty good. I could easily pull back and be done. But I think most of my thing is I want to stay uncomfortable. I want to tell myself I haven't arrived yet. I have opportunities. I have many things that I want to do and still influence and change. To me, that's the exciting story I want to tell myself, and that I do tell myself. I had another note here. Slightly right off topic. Maybe I shouldn't do. Oh, well, this was a study of Navy SEALs. They studied. I was reading this study where they studied Navy SEALs, and you know what they found out was the single biggest predictor of success? And they found out this to be true in business too. The single biggest predictor of success. What do you think it was? Just an idea. What's the single? I thought at first it might be like, grit or fortitude or, strength or something. No. Single biggest predictor of success is optimism. If you're optimistic and you believe something can happen, you're way more likely to see it happen than you are if you come in negative or feel that you're doomed or you're cursed or things don't work for you or scared. Single biggest predictor of success is optimism. I like to also stay around optimistic people. I like to be around people who give me energy. If they give me energy, I want to be around them, and probably so do you. If they take energy away from you, I very quickly can't be around them. I can't listen to them. I can't stay around them. If they're draining in a conversation, I'm quickly moving away from it. I don't ask them more questions. I don't want to know more things. I have to move on and get around people who give me energy, or at least don't take energy from me. So I want to wrap it up this week. I got two things. I got a dumb is real, and then I've got a recommendation. So I'm going to go with dumb is real. And, I start off talking about chocolate. And one of the dumbest things ever happened to me in chocolate. We were selling chocolate in a mall. This was a year ago or so. And I get a call from a little boy on my personal phone call, and on my personal phone. And he's like, "Is this?" And I'm like, "Probably not." and he said, "Hang on." And then a lady got on the phone, and she said, "Hello, is this the owner of the chocolate shop in the mall?" And I said, "Yes, it is." She said, I don't know if I said this before on the podcast. Maybe I did early on, but I'm going to tell you again. She said, I just bought some chocolate from you and I need to return it. I said, okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Why do you need to return it? She said, well, it's too expensive. I said, what? She goes, your chocolate is too expensive. I can't spend $14 on chocolate. And I said, well, ma'am, the prices are clearly marked. We You gave us your credit card. We told you how much it was. You signed for it. She goes, I know all that, but this chocolate is just too expensive. She goes, my son wanted it really badly, and he forced me to get it, and we just can't afford this. I need a refund. I said, ma'am, that's a problem between you and your son, and mainly between you. He asked you to buy it, you bought it, and now it's my fault as the business owner. Now I am responsible for it. I can't take the chocolate back. I can't resell it. I have to throw it away because, why? Because you couldn't tell your son no? She's like, well, I can't see how this is my fault. I said, I can't see how this is my fault. She goes, well, I'm a single mother and I can't afford this and I just need my money back. I said, ma'am, the only thing I can do, and I really don't want to, is if I'm not going to just refund your money on a phone call. You bring me the chocolate back, bring it all back to me, not eaten. I'll end up throwing it away and I will refund your money. She didn't ever show up. But to me, that's dumb as real. Are you kidding me? I am now the bad guy for selling you chocolate that you couldn't afford. I about came unglued. But anyway, dumb as real. Lastly, I hope you guys listen to other podcasts. There's a podcast I recently listened to called Dr. Death. It's got 76,000 5-star reviews. So a lot of you probably listening to me now have listened to Dr. Death. If you haven't listened to Dr. Death, I couldn't recommend it any higher. It is fascinating. It is so well produced. It is so well written. It's only 6 episodes is the main part, and then they have, I think, 6 other episodes as follow-ups to what happens to this guy who was a neurosurgeon, and the carnage that he did, and the evil and the bad, and the craziness that this Dr. Death guy did. I'm in Tennessee, and unfortunately he did go to medical school at University of Tennessee, but he passed with flying colors, everything was great. He went and practiced in Texas, and man, the carnage began. And luckily there were some good doctors that saw this happening and really went after this guy. So my recommendation is download Dr. Death and you will thank me later. All right, guys, that's my time. I certainly enjoy this. Again, it is Cancer Awareness Month. If you are looking for a nonprofit to support, please go to sweepawaycancer.org. And it is a fantastic organization. 96% of every dollar is given to the people. Cool thing happened. I was in Indiana visiting my father. Unfortunately, his health is deteriorating even faster. And a lady came up to me and said, hey, thank you so much for your donation, your grant to us. It helped me so much. It helped me get back from the hospital. It helped us get our child to school. And she just told me what she used the money for, and it was great. We give the money for people to use as they want for their bills and just to get by. Cancer is a terrible thing. If you're looking for a great organization to give money to, sweepawaycancer.org, and it is very well run, and the donations go right to the people. All right, guys, that's my time. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Gold Podcast. Please subscribe on iTunes or any place that you listen to podcasts. More information is also available at markstoner.com.